Cool.
Well, maybe it's my camera.
All right. Hello and welcome to the Fresno City Toastmasters Club. I'm your president, acting president, Joey Myers, and mentioned a little earlier, we're in our second day of a new spot, new area, and we're pretty excited about this. The owners of the Mug, which is off of Champlain and Perrin. It is in the Save Mart and CVS shopping area. There's a Bobby Salazar's in the corner, and we're just a door or two down, I think 2 doors down from there at the Mug. So that's where we are meeting, second day, like I said. And I want to draw your attention to the bottom left. If you're looking at our agenda, bottom left corner of the first page is our mission statement. And we always like to read that. And to kick off a meeting is we provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. My favorite words are right in the beginning. It's the supportive and positive learning experience that we like to foster here for those that are coming in to better their communication skills. For those that don't know, Toastmasters watching this on YouTube, their leadership skills as well and evaluation skills we also do. So it's not just about giving a toast, that's where Toastmasters comes from, but also it's a three-pronged effort between communication, leadership, and evaluation. So that being said, we are going to move to a couple business announcements. We have a couple new guests, not really new guests, I guess, joining us. But Corinne, you can see him in top, what is he? To us, it's top right corner. He's sitting on the end there next to Chanel. And he's going to be joining the end of this month. He was actually wanted to join this month, but I told him just wait and we can just, you don't have to pay 2 different dues, just start from scratch. And so he's going to be joining at the end, and he's excited too about the Mug. And it was kind of his idea to move us here. And he lit the light bulb and then the light bulb burned bright and we talked about it and here we are. So Corinne, and then we have, of course, our area director, Michael Rankin here. Is it Rankin? Rankin? Both?
It is Rankin.
Yeah, Rankin. There you go. Michael Rankin's here with us today, and he will be helping out and evaluating us as we move along. Michael, did you want, before I move on, did you want to say anything?
No, we'll just proceed and go through the whole meeting. Although I got to tell you, Corinne sounds like the kind of new member that every single club needs.
I think you've been on a meeting with him before. I think, Corinne, yeah?
Yeah.
With Michael, yes?
You look familiar.
We might have been at the tile place. Yeah, I think we're at the tile place at the time. Yeah, so welcome, Michael. Bump up the volume. This is as high as I go. Okay. I think it transfers over. Computer. Let's see, let's go this one. Yeah, it's as high as it goes. Okay, get a booster, volume booster. And then the only other club business is that we have dues coming up. And for us, the last Tuesday of the month is the 27th. And we are doing $60 for renewing members. So that is coming up in a couple, that's next week. So we got a week or so to do that. And we have a couple different ways to send out an email, but one of the easiest ways is via PayPal. So that is Fresno TM, T as in Tom, M as in monkey, Fresno TM @gmail.com. And that would be our PayPal account. We can do some other things as well, but that's probably the easiest. In-person announcements. Let's see, do we have anything here? Yeah, when you're speaking, please come to the podium. This is nice when we got the live version of this. In-person meetings, we can clap when we're in person. Bathrooms here, if you come here, are just right around the corner outside the door, right around the corner to the left. And on Zoom, the mute yourself until called upon. Exception is table topics, which we like to have some interaction there. Jazz hands to replace applause. Multitasking Zoom meetings. See if we can be in the here and the now, whoever's speaking, and then stand up when giving a speech when possible. We don't have any speeches scheduled for today, but those are some of the rules of the road for the virtual side. So now I will pass the podium over to our Toastmaster of the day, who is Miss Kalani Young.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Guests I have not seen yet. I'm going to step forward and move this a little bit forward for me. I'm going to step back so that I don't have to stare at a desktop. I would like to preface this by saying I just got a text message I wasn't expecting. So if I seem a little frazzled, just give me a moment to take a deep breath and start over. Today's theme is Voter Registration Day. Now, I know this may not seem like the most exciting, most intriguing topic to some people, but I'm not one of those people. I was a political nerd. So when most people, kiddos, I want to say back in 2009, if I'm not mistaken. I will not give my age because I know I'm super young. But while I was on an elementary school basketball team. And we played at this, it shouldn't even be standing rec center. But it's where we all went, and it did its service. The first half of the rec center was built for gaming. It had 2 vending machines that were caked in dust and blinking lights, but it still stood. And the second half of the rec center was where we had actually played the basketball games. And the parents would line along the side and huddle around the entrances, wherever they can get in just to watch their kids play. Now, we were one of the later teams, and this was the night of the election. We were all running around in the first half of the rec center, causing chaos, because what else are you gonna do? And I remember a lot of the parents moving out of the game section and huddling around the television and moving back, kind of in swarms. And I remember being the only kid who stopped and actually stood with the parents and was watching the actual election on the television. Now, this was when Obama was running for his first term. Granted, I don't care about anyone's political beliefs here, I'm going to be quite honest, but it was the first time that someone looked like me that was actually president, or running for president, excuse me. And thus, my parents made it a point to always talk to us about it. And for better or for worse, my parents always raised us to be politically aware from a young age. And that saying, when teachers teach you, you can be anything you want to be. And when they mentioned the president, I remember thinking, yeah, right. And for the first time, actually seeing it on television the night of the election, was like, wow, this is actually a possibility. That was the first day where everything started to change. And then the second term, unfortunately, I wasn't 18 yet. To really start getting involved, but I was one of the very first people. Luckily, my senior year, AP Gov, whatever you want to call it, teacher gave us voter registration forms in class, and I nerded out. I was actually the person who volunteered to pass them out and finished mine in about 3 minutes. I wish more Americans were as involved in American politics as other countries that I've learned, but I think it's a start. So I'm really excited, and I love talking about it, and I love getting engaged about it, and I'm excited about this topic today. Thank you. And with that, I will be bringing up our general evaluator of the day, Ms. Denny Mason.
Kalani for president. Oh, very good. So we have an evaluation team that's part of our Toastmasters experience, and I'm going to be introducing each one of those people that's taking a role today. Our grammarian and word of the day is Chanel West.
Thank you. For everybody who's here in person, I already wrote the word of the day on the whiteboard. And for Michael, I'll put it in our chat in a moment so that you can see it over Zoom. Our word for today is democracy, which goes along with the voting theme. Democracy is government by the people, or a form of government in which the supreme power is vested in the people, specifically through their ability to be engaged in what happens in the governmental system. So I think this will be a fairly easy word to use today, since we're going to be talking about voting. I will be listening for everybody to use the word, and then we'll give a report at the end of the meeting. And if you want to continue, but I'm just going to type it in here real quickly so that people can see it.
So maybe you want to come up and while she's doing that.
Go to the next person.
Okay, I'm going to get in here like this.
We're using that square there, Michael.
We're using the space. That's what we're doing.
That's a talent.
Yeah. Another member of our evaluation team is our awe counter. This is the fun job and the fun report that we all get at the end where we get to hear how well we did. And we're going to bring Kalani up for that. Except she's tied to her chair right now. That was good. That was very good.
Hello, I will be the odd counter of the day, along with being the Toastmaster. My role today will be counting most of the filler words that people use or filler phrases. Mine, for instance, is yeah, you know, or the typical California phrase, yeah, no, meaning yes. And I have the most memorable role, but I promise to be fair and it is all in goodwill.
We do have a lot of fun with that here. Now we have a timer and dual role Zoom master, Joey Myers.
Thank you, Miss Denny. And then I'm going to grab our little timing machine, which is fun, that pre-2020 we used a lot, and it is a little goofy. Get the green. So we won't have any speeches today. We will have our table topics for sure. So we'll be working between the 1 to 2 minutes. The 1 minute we'll see green, 1.5 minutes will be yellow. It's kind of a yellow red-ish, maybe orange, whatever the red light comes on. And then red by itself will be the 2 minute mark. And you have about 30 seconds after that to make sure that you wrap it up. In competitions, disqualification after 2.5. So I'll be working on this and using the word of the day. Unlike a democracy, which the people decide, when we're talking about speeches and timing speeches, the timer decides. It's a government by the timer and for the timer, for the people. That's what I'll be doing. Denny? Send it. Okay, so with that, I will pass the torch over to our Toastmaster of the day, Miss Kalani, and then Kalani will, since we don't have any speeches, we'll just introduce our table.
Okay.
She had a question mark that went above her head, so.
Yes. All right, thank you. I will be now introducing our tabletop master. I believe it's Miss Chanel.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you, Pam. I am, like Kalani, also excited for this topic today because I also find voting and democracy very interesting. I was the student who in high school, when I was 16 years old, would go to the Clovis City Council meetings by myself, just for fun on a Tuesday night. I can't imagine why I couldn't get my peers to go with me. No one else seemed interested. And I would be one of the only civilians sitting in the audience. They're not very well attended, unfortunately. The Fresno City Council meetings might be more well attended since they're bigger and, from what I've heard, a bit more spicy during this time in our city. So I have 3 questions that I'm going to pose for everybody today. The first 2 are somewhat broad, and then the third one is a bit more specific if anybody feels especially ambitious and wants to come up and answer it. Firstly, what is your attitude or mindset towards voting and why? You can take that however you want. Secondly, who or what has been your biggest influence in your mindset towards voting? Perhaps it was family, perhaps it's been a friend or an experience that you've had. And then thirdly, if anybody is ambitious enough to answer this, if you could get one measure or prop on the California state ballot, if it was just guaranteed you're going to get the signatures that you need, the measure will be on there and go to vote, what would the measure be and why? You guys think you can everybody remember those, or would you like me to rank them out? You guys got it.
idea maybe adds, hey, what was the first one or second one or third one, just maybe reread it or something, if that's the question.
All right, so those are the 3 questions. Do I have a volunteer to come up first? Give you guys a few seconds to think about it.
And then you're gonna go and tell somebody.
Sure. Kalani is ready for it.
just speech that she just gave about it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Being that I already somewhat answered the second question, I'm going to go ahead and answer it a little bit more. I'm just going to elaborate further on who was your biggest influence in your relationship when it came to voting. As I mentioned, it was my parents. They were very vocal about their beliefs, why they believed certain things. And although now I don't necessarily believe the same things they do, they did teach me that it was important to have a voice and not to be one of those individuals who has a voice and doesn't do anything about it. It extended a lot more than just voting, as you can imagine, but especially when it did come to voting. And it is one of the most valuable lessons that they did teach me that I am instilling in my family now that I am creating. It was something that I actually instilled in my roommates in college unknowingly, and definitely not through force necessarily, more so of them coming into my room and them notice me watching certain news programs or listening to certain podcasts and them asking questions about it and me sitting down and actually taking the time to elaborate further with them as to what the pros and cons of every question that they had was about, and not necessarily just the one side of it, and not having them feel ignorant for not knowing in the first place. And then that also transitioned to people coming over and noticing what I'm listening to and noticing what I'm watching, and sit down having those engaging conversations with me from that age, from that environment as well. To answer your question, who was your biggest influence? Would be my parents, but I also think I started to have an influence myself.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good answer. So questions again, number one, what is your attitude or mindset towards voting? So it could be that you, like Kalani, are very passionate about it, or you could be apolitical. It's okay to answer that way too, though. Knowing everybody in the room, I know that none of us are exactly apolitical. Number two, who or what has been your biggest influence that has impacted your mindset towards voting? And then number three, if you could get one measure or prop on the California state ballot, what would it be and why? Who would like to go next? Corinne, awesome.
Well, voting is a passion, but it's mostly a duty, a citizen's duty to participate in his or her country's life. That's the way I see it. Whether we like it or not, if we don't participate, somebody else will fill in our position and decide for us. Now, our democracy is also complicated by the fact that it's a representative democracy, which means before we go to vote, we need to know who is the candidate, what he stands for, what is he going to do for our community. It's not just going and voting for the president, it's voting for all sorts of people, filling all sorts of positions. So therefore, I think that voting should go in a democracy hand in hand with education. In other words, you have to educate yourself before you vote. My preference is to vote in person. I don't trust the ballots in a way of mailboxes and proxy and everything else. All you need to do is to just go there. It's not every day, it's once or twice a year. And in other words, commit your time in order to participate as a real citizen. Democracy means the gathering of people in Greek. It started in Athens, right? Historians say. So I understand that we all gather and each of us gives their voice for a particular subject. Thank you.
Thank you for that extended definition of democracy. I probably had learned that at one point, but did not remember. So it's good to be refreshed. All right, we have Denny and Joey, and then Michael, you're welcome to participate also if you would like to. Joey, you're going to come up. Okay.
Do you want to time me? So it's just this button right here. Shake your hand. just that button right there. You can have my seat if you want. I wanted to take a shot at the second question and my influence on politics. I grew up in a baseball bubble myself. My parents weren't really athletes. My dad was a self-proclaimed nerd. He had the pocket protector and everything. Loved cars. He was a big car person, loved drag racing, all that kind of stuff, but he was a nerd. My mom was the athlete, I guess, in the family. She was a cheerleader, and I think she played softball, but they never pushed me in anything. I pushed myself. Baseball was, again, my bubble. And I approached baseball from a scientific standpoint where you ask a question, you develop a hypothesis, you do your research, you collect your data, and then you form a conclusion. In the politics side of things, I could care less. Kalani mentioned the government econ class that she took her senior year. Same thing for me. That was like the first, well, not really the first being exposed to politics, but like doing the preamble and all the things in 7th and 8th grade. But really actually looking at different issues and being old enough, 18 years old or so, to start to maybe have somewhat of an opinion on things. But it wasn't until 2015, 16, where up until then, voting, I was just going with the flow. People that I trusted, I would, hey, vote for this person, vote for that person. I never really put any thought into, I never discerned, I never did any kind of critical thinking until those years, until 2015, 16. And I found out that although love my friends, I love my family, but you have to do your own research. You have to be discerning for yourself, and you have to critical think. And that was the time, around that time, that, and my parents, we pretty much, we think kind of different than Kalani. We think similar in our political views. So their influence was there, but I knew I had to take it upon myself to learn the things for myself, to look into the people that we were going to vote for, to look into the issues. And being a little bit older, got some experience, and so then we can make a little bit better decisions on things such as abortion or some things that in high school I had no clue about. So big influence from my parents, and just more of getting into that critical thinking side of things that I did with baseball so naturally. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Joey.
I'm
Okay.
next, right?
You don't have a choice.
We got Michael too, by the way. He
You
can't
have lots
hide.
of thoughts. Yeah, Michael.
From a very young age, I've been interested in real estate. I love everything real estate. And people who know me well know that I'm on realtor.com every single day of my life. And I'm not joking. Until I had children and bought our first house was when I realized that politics has something to do with property values. And it goes like this: the property you buy has a price based on the school district you live in. And if the school district isn't any good, it has something to do with the school board. And it goes up from there. So it all becomes a political nightmare or dream come true. When I married my husband, I also learned something else about politics. You better be on the same page. I grew up in a home that was, my parents felt that voting was very private. They really didn't talk about politics, or even how, I still to this day don't know how my parents voted. But in my household, my husband made it very clear that we needed to be on the same page, because realistically, if you're married to somebody who votes opposite of you, you're canceling each other out. There's no teamwork there. In my house, we vote the same way. Those are the things that have influenced me. This year, I'm actually running for an office. Not a political one way or the other, and it's not school board. Those things are too controversial for me. But it is a little, it's the lowest on the ballot in Reedley. A little office that actually has some influence, but it's not a party influence. So thank you.
I wish I could vote for you. I don't live in Reedley though, so I can't. Michael, would you like to go?
Sure.
Okay.
So Michael, I'm gonna, let's see which.
So I can take my,
Yeah.
oh, I'm
do that.
already at the green. Wow, I can quit now and not have to worry about it. I think I'm gonna kind of do a hybrid of the questions a little bit.
Totally fine.
My influence as a voting American is in my parents also. But we had a different way of looking at it in our family. My father was a staunch Republican. My mother was a dyed-in-the-wool Democrat. But they would sit and discuss things before the election, and they neither one voted a party line. They voted what they agreed, and they didn't cancel each other out. They voted what they agreed would be the best candidate. Now that worked really well until 1960, when my father decided it was time not to be married anymore, and he left on election day. And I have that in my brain. You know, I was 5 years old, and that's the first memory I have, solid memory of a specific election. And I spent the next 15 years obviously ambivalent, but then I got to vote, and I was impressed by the opportunity to state my view at the ballot, exercise my franchise as it were. And I was envious at the time. I mean, I was 20 years old, of people worldwide in repressed areas who were standing in line for days or traveling 5,000 or 500 miles, 1,000 would be ridiculous, to have the opportunity to cast their ballot because they'd never had the opportunity. That impressed me. Now I'm 67, and I've honestly become kind of jaded to the voting process. I still vote every election. My wife is disabled, so we vote absentee. Have to use the mail. Haven't got a choice. But we vote every election, and we still discuss every election, just like my parents did. We don't always agree, but you don't have to agree all the time. That's what makes life fun, is not agreeing and finding out what the other person thinks. That's what makes a democracy roll. Now, back to you.
Very good. Thank you for sharing, Michael. Thank you, everyone, for being willing to join in this conversation about voting and democracy. One of the things that I appreciate about our Toastmasters Club is that we have freedom to share our beliefs and thoughts here without being made fun of or pushed against. And I appreciate the freedom in that, because that is a lot of what democracy is all about, right? That we're able to coexist in our beliefs. So with that, I'm calling up the general evaluator, Denny, who is going to lead us in our evaluation of the meeting.
Chanel, are you saying I can't make fun of you anymore? Oh. Now it's time for our evaluation team to come up and see how we did. So first I'm going to introduce Joey Myers for our timer report.
Thank you, Ms. Denny. Now, for some reason, I didn't get Chanel. I don't know, maybe my brain exploded when you're doing your table topics, because that's all we were timing today. Anyway, so I didn't get Chanel's.
I didn't really do one.
Okay.
I introduced the topic, but I didn't.
Gotcha. Okay, so I didn't miss something crazy. Okay. So Kalani came in. Oh, what was my time? You had my time. Chanel, do you remember?
2:20.
Oh, how about that? Michael, that is qualification right there. That's not disqualification. And you know, last time you were here, you know, I kind of got dumped on a little bit about how I like to talk.
I would never.
Don't feel like the Lone Ranger.
I didn't get dumped on. We actually had a conversation. One of the meetings we had, we ended up having lunch over at a Thai place, and we were talking about it. And I was like, "Oh, don't worry about it, Don't worry about it, Chanel." I love it. I love it. I get to, at home, I got a little girl that's got some craziness about her. So not a big deal. Got to deal with a lot over there at home with a 6-year-old girl who's going on 14. So Kalani, back to our timer, came in at 149. Perfecto. Denny, 208. So you were right over. You joined the Joey Myers above 2-minute mark club. Corinne came in perfect, 136. I came in 220, as Chanel said. And Michael came in at 220 as well. And I loved what you said about that and addressing some of the things that we talked about. And I love the idea of having where you have both folks being able to sit together and be able to discuss stuff. Because I think today, or the last 6 years, 7 years, I think that's the thing that we've lost, is being able to actually have two people from two different areas come together and actually talk about it. So I love that. I love that part of your table topics. So thanks for sharing that. All right, Denny, back to you.
Thanks, Joey. And we have our very fun counter report coming up, Kalani.
Thank you. Today's all counter report actually is not that bad. I think it's one of those topics that came really naturally for a lot of people out here. Therefore, a lot less filler words were needed to convey our points or our memories or our stories today. With that said, Joey, I didn't catch anything. Chanel, I caught one. Denny, absolutely nothing. You paused before every sentence, and that alleviated any need for filler words. I will say for myself, being an all counter and giving your presentation makes you stop every time you say something that you're not supposed to say. I caught 2 ums for myself and 2 extended ands as fillers. Corinne, I caught 1 up. That's it. Michael, absolutely nothing.
Hey.
Thank you.
It's not just because you're visiting today, Michael.
No, not at all.
And now Chanel is going to give us her grammarian report.
I heard everyone use it except Denny, but I might have missed you. Okay. Corinne gets double points because he actually gave an expanded definition of democracy. And Kalani and Joey, you both used it very well. I used it kind of in reference. Maybe I'll give myself half a point. I didn't integrate it into the conversation quite as well as you three. But that's the report. Thank you.
I think our meeting went very well today, and I'm so excited to be in this new space. I do really like it. I think we'll hang some curtains over there. It's really nice. I really do enjoy it. We're going to turn this back over to our president.
Thank you, Denny. Yeah, I agree. I think this is a great, hopefully, home for somewhat of a longer haul. I think our biggest long hauls have been, well, Fresno City Hall, that's where we started, and that was the longer of the halls. And then we ended up at a couple different places and then found a home at Bitwise. And we were there for 3-4 years. I mean, Denny's been, her and I are kind of the OGs of this current club right now. And we were there for quite a long time. And hopefully that's this place. I think everything is, it kind of lines up, all the planets aligning. So if we go into the rewards of today's meeting, we had a couple double roles people, I think. We had Kalani, she was Toastmaster and counter, so the double roles. And plus she mentioned the text that she got right before she came up, and that's always fun when you get a fun text like that. And then you have to be able to, brain has to come back to earth and that kind of thing. I took on a couple roles, and then I think Chanel, yep, grammarian and table topics. And of course, we always, our general evaluator and our Toastmaster today is always a big role there. And our guests, thank you, Corinne, and Michael, thank you for contributing today as well. So if you look at our agenda, let's see if we can fill in a few spots for next week. So Kalani, you and I guess, we still good for next week's speeches as of right now? Yeah, that's about my answer too. How about for Toastmaster, general evaluator, and our table topics? Anybody want to jump in on those? So Denny won't be here. Okay. Okay. All right. So Toastmasters is gonna be Chanel,
I can do the grammarian.
and then Kalani, grammarian. And since she's speaking as of right now and taking on a double role, I think I'll take on general eval, and of course the Zoom. I think that one's easy. Will or will not
Probably.
have Sarah? So maybe we can put Sarah table topics.
I can be a speech evaluator.
Oh, there you go. And we'll need those. So Chanel, a couple of those. Danny won't be here, so we can always figure out that second one, or just kind of see what happens between Kalani and I on the speech. I think we're good there. We have timer, counter. We'll see who else we have. We can fill those roles during that time. Any other speaking roles? October 4th, 11th. Anybody in here want to? Taco Day. Who keeps
I better do a.
Who keeps deciding these themes? It's me. Sorry, Michael. It's me. Michael likes that one. Yeah, Chanel, it's funny to see the themes change when Chanel was doing it. It was Fuzzy Bunny Day. It was.
No.
I know it wasn't. It was actually
What's the
tough
meaning
ones.
of life?
Exactly. That's what I was gonna say. It was like, what is, yeah, meaning of life. It was, are there really planets? Is the Earth flat? It was that kind of stuff. Yeah, that was Chanel when she was making her things. Okay. On the 11th? Okay, so Denny on the 11th. Cool. All right. And then last but not least, any questions, comments, criticisms? And Michael, go ahead and jump in there if you got anything on your list there.
I haven't got really a list. I would tell Kalani, you missed one big and that was me. When I said that it was 5,000 miles and it's really 500 miles because nobody could go that far, but that is a flaw, a screw up on my speech. But you catch your own and you tend to hear more when you're doing it yourself. And it does give you cause for pause. I wish some of these politicians, when they're in front of a camera, would catch themselves saying some of the dumb things they say. Your club has the most fun of any club I attend. I have to admit, you haven't got that many members here, but I think I showed 13 on your list. I don't know how your re-enrollment is going, and there's a whole lot of contention that the population of Toastmasters is going to drop because we've lost a lot of people the last few years during COVID and things are getting hard. But you guys make it work. This is really fun. I enjoy your meetings and I look forward to coming back again.
Well, thank you, Michael. Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, that was part of this move too. So we were at the Betty Rodriguez Library. Obviously, we talked about that in the beginning. And great place, beautiful library area. Okay, but
Which room did you meet in?
We met
They have
in,
2 small rooms on the south and 1 large room on the north.
it was one of the middle small ones.
And it's all glass on one side, which really is distracting in a meeting. It's not, and you haven't got any place to have the view board. If you
Mhm.
have it, you've got a screen on the end, which is really nice. I got to tell you, when you met at City Hall back in the days when we founded this thing, it's a great place to be, but they keep moving your meeting room around depending on what is happening with employees at lunchtime. And not all the meeting rooms. You got one that's like a courtroom almost, and it's really hard to sit in a gallery out there, not a table, but just everybody sitting in rows.
Right.
What you are right now is really conducive to a hybrid meeting. I like it. It's the best I've seen. And that's twice I've given you 2 bests in one meeting. You don't want to do that.
Michael, I wasn't going to say this, but I'm paying you. I'm paying you for these comments. I didn't want to say
I know, and your price is going up by the minute. So
our prices are going up. Yeah. But yeah, thank you. Appreciate that, Michael. Yeah. We, the Betty Rodriguez Library, great place, but like you were saying, mentioned some of those things. So this one now, and so the other thing was that we were talking in our exec board meeting was, okay, how are we going to get more people from that location? And that was going to be rough because we would have to possibly enter into something new with the library, some sort of a training. And I've heard of this, some libraries doing this where they have like a workforce training program, and it could be helping people learn how to speak and things like that. And I didn't know if that library had something like that set up, but we would have to create something, which would be a whole heck of a lot of work.
Well,
But
Toastmasters does have Speechcraft, which
What's
takes
that?
you through Toastmasters does have a Speechcraft program that takes you through the first 6. It used to be this first 6 speeches in the regular manual, and you got credit for that. And if you joined at the end, then you moved on into the thing. But you have, and I just lost the track that I was on.
Which is more of getting more leads coming in through Betty Rodriguez library versus here, which is a lot more. It's a little better area, better parking. We're going to have a relationship. We have a relationship with Mike, the owner here, and his wife, and we're going to be able to put flyers up, and we're going to cross promo each other. And it's just a better.
Well, you have an advantage that I don't think that you realize you have. I attended one club yesterday in the evening, and when you go to my Toastmasters, find a club, there were a dozen different club meetings on Monday evening or Monday during the day. Tuesday, there is one club meeting.
So
that's you guys. That's it. You have a corner on the market on Tuesday, and you need to manipulate that and massage it and get it to work for you.
Yeah.
People, there are people who want to meet on Tuesday. They don't think about it because Tuesday's kind of a slow day in the work week. Monday, everybody hates, and Friday, everybody's ready to go home. Wednesday's hump day, blah, 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 blah. Tuesday's quiet. But if you can get people's attention, you could really make this work and make it a strong club.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. I mean, it's a lunch. We get it all in an hour. We get a ton in an hour. And I think we're going to end earlier than normal.
Really good.
Very cool. Yeah. So, I think this is going to be something that's going to help our club grow. And I think this is a good spot. Just all around, it was just every check mark, every box we had, we were able to check mark. So we're going to figure it out. So thanks, Michael. I appreciate all the compliments. And again, I'll save the payment if you want to check cash.
Nah, just put it on my tab and we'll run one for a while.
Okay. All right. Any other questions, comments, or from our peanut gallery, our homegrown peanut gallery?
No, I'm just so happy that it's working.
Yeah, thanks, Corinne.
I was just having coffee and reading the book, and all of a sudden the door opened. And I looked inside, and people were having a conference here.
Yeah.
I said, why can't we have the Toastmasters here? That's the first thought that came to me, because I knew you guys were looking for it. I even suggested my office at some point, but this is much better. Brand new, renovated.
Got the TV, got all the internet.
That's naturally, the idea came instantly.
And then Kalani, who was on a break for a little bit, once we got this place, boom, she's back because it was right around the corner from where she lives. So conveniently, it's in a good spot. And I know Denny and Chanel on the board, we've talked about, we can't be meeting in Clovis because we're Fresno City Toastmasters, and that's where we were meeting for a good year or so, right? Year and a half, and we had no other choice, but we had to be in a Fresno spot, and that's where we're at.
Absorbing the granite of science.
the granite of science. We did have a very generous member. Yeah, Michael was very good. Another Michael. We have lots of Michaels, but Mike owns this place.
It's a common. It is a common name, and I'm sure you remember that. But just remember that, like the New York Mets play in Flushing, New York, or in the Bronx, but they aren't always. It isn't done. You don't have to be in the right city. If you happen to be on the other side of the border, nobody's going to claim and say, "Oh, sorry, we don't want to be Fresno City Toastmasters because you're not really representing." You're fine. You're fine.
Right. Very cool. Well, thank you again, Michael, for coming in, and Corinne for crashing our party. He's going to be an official member here soon. The rest of our members, thanks for putting this together and helping out. Kalani, Chanel, and Denny. And other than that, I'll let you all go. Get ready for your meeting. And Michael, if you got any questions, you need to email me or anything like that, just let me know.
Did you receive the form I sent? And I didn't send it. You go to Toastmasters and say you're visiting, and it sends a form to you saying it's supposed to give it to me too, but it just gives me a worksheet.
It sent me an email. I didn't see if there was an attachment. I think Chanel was on it.
I
But it just was saying that you were gonna be here at our meeting
Okay,
today,
well,
but I might have missed.
take a look, and if you see the form, it's got some questions at the back that only you can answer. I can't.
Okay.
And just go through them, mark them, and let me know what you got.
Okay,
And I'm just concerned with getting these reports in. I don't think the reports, personally, I don't like the reports. I'd
yeah,
rather observe and interact, and I think that's much more effective. But
yeah,
hey,
yeah.
I don't run the show.
Yeah, right, you don't call the shots. Cool, all right, Michael, well, thanks again. Yeah, I'll check that and get that back to you if I see something there, maybe they send it out a little bit later, but I'll get that over to you.
Thanks, Joey.
Other than that, everybody have a great week, and we got our gavel here. I will close the meeting. All right. See you, Michael.
Leaving now.